Please.
Edora galandi he o jeli heli gahan siu deski atino. Niuna det dosta heli do hest ahan do jeloska. O swatli lohi jelegi skadug. Niho de hatin he do hest dintin jogitinido. Niho de deskion he do hest do you dange. Father, we just thank you for this day. We just thank you for all your blessings, Lord, that you've bestowed on this nation. Lord, I just ask that you continue to guide us and give us knowledge and wisdom so we can do the better job for our people and the betterment of our nation and our leaders, Lord, that you just be with them daily as they go about their work. We thank you and give everyone a safe day. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, Shelley, would you do roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Joe Deere. Keith Austin. Danny Callison. Julia Coates. Sean Crittenden. Mike Dobbins. Rex Jordan. Johnny Kidwell. Darrell Legg. Wes Snowfire. Dora Petskowski. Joshua Sam. Mobina Shotpouch.
Honey.
E.O. Smith. Condessa Teehee. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
All right, if you had a chance to look at the minutes, could I have a motion, please? Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, getting into reports from the Marshal Service, Shannon Buell.
Good morning.
Morning, Shannon.
Some of the things I'd like to bring up this morning is my people, the two marshals that work in conservation for us. They're normal marshals, but they also help out in conservation to do kind of what a game warden would do for the state, they do for us. They not only do that, but they do a lot of hunting with kids and a lot of things. The Wildlife Department had them out surveying some of the ponds and lakes, doing electro-fishing where they stick rods in the water and they bring fish up and then they check the sizes and check what they were eating. So they got to do that for the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of very interesting what they did. Other than that, we had two big issues that we've had this month. One, we had Special Operations call out an armed and barricaded subject up in Quapaw. If you know, Quapaw's out of our jurisdiction, but it's a cooperative agreement between the Quapaw Marshals and us. They don't have a team that can deal with that, and Ottawa County Sheriff doesn't have a team to deal with that. So they called our team up. It was successful. Nobody was injured, so that was a really good day. We had not so good a day Thursday night. A WASA SWAT called us to assist on a SWAT call out in Ulagal. A man had went armed barricade, was shooting at neighbors. We get there with our equipment and our team to work with the WASA PD. While my team's on the scene, the suspect shoots at my team, we don't know that he was shooting at us, but yeah, he was. He ended up throwing the gun down in the house. He was shooting while he was still in the house and came out and surrendered, thank goodness. So nobody was injured, but it just really brings home the point that my men and women on the street do some really, really dangerous things. And sometimes, even me being the head marshal, sometimes you forget some of the dangers that these young people face every single day, whether it's us or Wassa PD or your local police department. You know, they might have a routine 5 months, and then one day it's not routine. So please keep my marshals in your prayers when they go do these things. They're very, very dangerous. Thank goodness we have a good team that doesn't overreact, doesn't do what they could have done and still been legally okay to do, but they didn't. They paused and they reevaluated, and thus this guy that was having a mental health crisis got some help and wasn't injured. So that's a very important outcome, I believe, but it just brings home that. Other than that, if you have any questions for me this morning, I'm more than happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Marshal Buell? Doc?
Marshal, what kind of guidelines do our marshals and security to handle protests on our property?
I jokingly tell people a lot in passing that I'm probably the most liberal conservative you'll ever meet. We truly believe, and I truly believe, that we need to protect every peaceful protest that we ever have to go up with. If a citizen wants to peacefully protest or address grievances with their nation, whether it's the United States, whether it's Cherokee Nation, or whether it's the state, as long as they peacefully assemble and peacefully protest and don't disrupt the flow of government, it's the same that we offer that First Amendment right just like we would anybody else. So I've personally stood at protest sites with the protester. I'm not there to protest. I'm there to protect those people's right to peacefully assemble. If they're not peaceful, then we ask them to leave and do things, because then First Amendment doesn't protect non-peaceful occurrences. But peaceful occurrences, we protect that. My marshals do not have riot gear. We don't believe in that outcome. As soon as it's like those of you in the room that played sports, if you can think back, if you was on football, once you put a helmet on and you look across the field at another person with a helmet, they're now my enemy. And what we've seen over time after time after time again in protests and stuff around the country, once the officers put riot gear on, it changes the dynamic for both sides. Now it's not a police officer in a uniform looking at you, it's a man or woman in all this gear, and they're dehumanized. So we try to make sure that we keep humanistic goals on both sides. So you won't see us showing up with riot gear and stuff like that. That's just not what we do here. So,
If I could follow up, so a protest group could come in the hallways and peacefully protest inside in the hallways of the complex or any other of our other properties. They can come inside and protest.
we try to talk to the group. There's usually two places here at the complex that we prefer protesters to be. Is right outside where the fire is, or out here, depends on what that is. What if I can't have 30 people in the hall, because that disrupts the flow of government. I can't have 200 people in this room protesting. It disrupts. But if we will set up things. If it's hot outside, we'll set tents up and water places. We'll get bottled water and big trays of ice. And we're not feeding protesters, but we want to make sure a protester doesn't have a heat stroke, doesn't have any of those issues. If there's inclement weather, we'll find alternate locations for that protest. But does that make sense?
Thank you, Marshal. Thank you, Chair.
Keith?
Shannon, are you going to be here after? Are you going to stick through the whole meeting?
Oh, I'm here all day for you.
Okay, great. I just want to visit with you.
Okay.
Councilman Kellison.
Marshal, as highly trained and as good as your marshals are, and the lack of them that we have now that we are governing the reservation, have we thought about hiring conservation officers, game warden type folks that will be able to take and put these marshals back on the street where they're
We're
probably
looking
needed?
at all options right now. The Wildlife Department is, they've made big changes post-McGirt too. Now, not only do law enforcement have a bigger envelope, but now our wilderness people have a bigger envelope. So those are discussions. We're looking at federal agencies that can help support that as far as funding those things, if you kind of see what that, like we have a marshal at Sequoia School. It's funded through education, so that education funds that marshal. It allowed me to hire another marshal to fill that marshal's place while they're at Sequoia. So that's what we're looking at now, trying to find that a way that entities can get some federal dollars to fund positions for armed people, armed marshals, then allow us to backfill those positions, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Just want to pass one thing on. I talked to the head of the Quapaw Nation, and they said they were impressed with your SWAT team. Said how they conduct themselves and how safe they were and how their tactics. He said that was very impressive. So
Well,
I just want to pass that on.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, sir. All right. Next, from the Office of the Attorney General, Sarah Hill.
Good morning. I was just here about 10 days ago, I think, so we haven't Fortunately, don't have a ton of updates to give you, but we have been very busy at the AG's office still. There's been a lot of continued, we're getting more and more familiar with the court's opinion in Castro Huerta, spending more time analyzing that, thinking through our next steps. We participated in some panels with UCLA and with OU to sort of share and express the viewpoints of Indian country from our perspective, and listening to the viewpoints of other people about that decision. We've also been, honestly, what's eaten up the majority of my time over the last week has been the Hooper case, which is a case I don't think that we've discussed at length before, and I won't get into all of the details today, but this involved the Curtis Act. There's a ticket, it was a speeding ticket in the city of Tulsa that an individual got. The city argues that it has jurisdiction over this Indian person. It happened in the Muskogee Nation. The city argued they had jurisdiction under the Curtis Act, some sort of old provisions that we believe they're misreading from the Curtis Act, which would give the municipalities, certain municipalities, the ability to prosecute Indians within their boundaries. That case has been going through the federal courts. It's headed up to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. And in the federal system, you've got the federal district courts, you've got the circuit courts, and then you've got the U.S. Supreme Court. So the federal circuit is a very important place for a case. It's an important place to have your voice heard. And so we filed an amicus brief with the 10th Circuit this week. It was a joint brief, as many of our briefs on these matters have been with the other tribes. In this case, it was joint with the Chickasaw, Choctaw, Seminole, and Quapaw nations. And the Muskogee Nation filed a separate but complementary brief because it was there on their reservation. And so they have filed a brief that's complementary to ours, but there's been good communication, continues to be good communication between the 5 tribes on these jurisdictional matters that continue to be important. Whatever happens in that case, there's a good chance that someone's going to seek cert. And so it's another case that we have to sort of keep a close eye on and be sure that we're participating and making our voice heard before the court. So it probably doesn't, filing an amicus brief probably doesn't sound like a big deal. It's one brief, but it takes a lot of work and energy, especially when you're trying to coordinate with a lot of other lawyers from the other tribes. And we're very proud of that work that we've done there, and I'll be happy to send it out to Shelley and the speaker if any of you are interested in reading it. I tend to presume that you don't. It's why you have me around to get into the details of all of these things, but if one of you gets really enterprising and wants to go in and read all of that, I'm happy to share it with you. And with that, rather than take up any more of your valuable time, you've got a long list of things to do today. I'll just answer any questions that I can.
Does anybody have any questions for Sarah? Keith?
Yes, you just spoke in your explanation just now. You said certain municipalities, and that really struck my, that really made a question mark in my mind. Certain municipalities.
It's a good question. I think the city of Tulsa argues that they have jurisdiction under the Curtis Act for their own reasons. There are other municipalities. There are lots of different legal issues involved with this. It's sort of a convoluted argument that Tulsa is making, in my opinion, that they have jurisdiction. Many municipalities have said, we don't care about this Curtis Act stuff. We just want to work with the tribes. We just want to figure this out. Our priority is law enforcement. We're not going to get involved in this. And those are, among those are the 18 municipalities that have agreements with the Cherokee Nation. Because in those agreements, the municipalities say, hey, you have jurisdiction over Indians, but we're going to work with you on law enforcement issues. There are a handful of cities who say that they think they have Curtis Act jurisdiction. Their argument really relies upon when their city was created. And some of the cities who claim that they have Curtis Act jurisdiction weren't created in the right time, or they weren't created in the right way for their argument to even be really consistent with what Tulsa is arguing. But that doesn't stop them from deciding that it might apply to them. So it is confusing, and I cannot tell you about the decision-making process of all of these municipalities. City of Tulsa's argument at least is laid out on paper where we can see it, see what they're arguing, and that the court can consider it.
Okay, so it's based off, it's generally, I know don't want to get too specific, but generally it's based off of when they were established as a city?
Yeah, I think that their argument, Tulsa's argument, is that they were created at the time the Curtis Act was in place, and therefore they can still exercise the authority the cities had under the Curtis Act. Which there are many problems with that argument, and I don't want to bore all of you with all of that. But there are a lot of problems with the argument that they're making.
Well, I don't find it boring, thank you.
Well, I'll be happy to send you our amicus brief where you can look in as much boring detail as you want, Councilman. I don't want to discourage your interest in it, and I'm happy to talk to any of you about it who want to go into a deeper dive. If there's real interest from the council, I'll speak to, groups of you to walk you through that. So I'm at your disposal.
Councilman Coates?
Thank you. A.G. Hill, if I recall, there's a decision out of a federal, I don't know what level, district or circuit court out of the 1980s that says that the Oklahoma Indian Welfare Act sort of implicitly repeals the Curtis Act. Am I correct about that?
You are.
And I guess my question is that given the hostility that we've recently experienced from the Supreme Court, we've actually gotten pretty good decisions in many instances from the lower federal courts, lower levels of federal courts. Do we anticipate that those courts are going to continue to, especially locally, understand what the Indian issues are, understand the complexities of Indian law, and, perhaps continue to provide us some good decisions? Or do you anticipate that they're going to be sliding in the direction that the Supreme Court is? I mean, I understand, I think, from what you just said, that we can anticipate that this is going to continue to get appealed up. But what's your sense of the lower courts and their level of sympathy or understanding for tribes?
It's a mixed bag. In the federal district courts, which are the trial courts of the United States, in the Northern District and the Eastern District, we've typically had judges who understand Indian issues relatively well because they're exposed to it a lot. Judges hear all kinds of cases in the federal courts, and if you never hear an Indian case, if it's the first one you've ever got, then it's a complicated and can be very confusing area of the law. But our judges here tend to be exposed to it a lot because of all the tribes. That being said, because of McGirt, there have been a lot of additional caseload put on the federal courts, and some of the judges who've been brought in to hear cases, especially civil cases, maybe don't have the same background in Oklahoma Indian law that we would normally expect from a district judge in one of our districts. The 10th Circuit, on the other hand, where this case is headed now, is typically about as good as you can get on Indian country issues. They decided the Murphy case, which was an amazing decision. It was the decision right before McGirt that the 10th Circuit put out, and it went into a lot of issues that are very relevant to what Tulsa is arguing here. And I do have confidence that we're going to get a thoughtful decision out of the 10th Circuit, and we have an opportunity. The frustrating part sometimes for the tribes is that we don't choose these cases. The nation is not a party to this case. This case involves a person who got a speeding ticket. That person's interest is a lot different than the interest of the tribes, but our rights are being drug into these cases. And so we are coming, and an amicus brief can be filed by any interested party. We have to rely on the courts to say, we really want to look at that amicus because it comes from the tribes, and they really have an interest in this case. So, they're going to be affected by the decisions of the Supreme Court. They have to be. That's how it works. So I think we can expect to see an impact of the Supreme Court's decisions. But I do continue to have confidence that the district judges in the 10th Circuit remain very persuadable on issues where we have good arguments, as we do here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I also have, I guess, a question about our own judiciary. Because we've not had to necessarily deal with certain kinds of cases that we are now having to deal with under McGirt. And so I think that for many of our judges and justices, the background has often been in family law and things like that, which we have been dealing with all along, and a type of expertise that we definitely needed. But I guess my question is kind of what is the sense, again, I know it's probably different out of the AG's office itself, but do you have any sense within our own judiciary of the level of understanding of federal Indian law that, and how it might apply in some of the new types of cases that we're going to be receiving or already are?
That's a dangerous question for me to try to answer. It's hard for me to predict what, any of them would do. For the most part, our trial judges do not hear federal Indian law issues. They hear criminal issues, they hear statute of limitations and evidentiary issues, things that any trial court would hear. The Supreme Court is a different story. You know, there's a nexus there of federal Indian law. They also, you know, we need people that have trial experience on the Supreme Court. So that's, you need a different blend, I think, as for the appellate body. But, you know, as to speak to their individual backgrounds, I can say we haven't had any issues. But other than that, I don't think that's something I really have a great insight on that would be anything more than any other person's, you know, speculation based on what they've heard at the hearings that all of you have held on their confirmations.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sean? Did you, Melvina?
I still get questions about the fines. You know, if your state is higher and then our courts are, is cheaper. So is there a choice that you can pick where you want to get like a traffic fine?
You really can't pick, but I've heard from various council members that people there are certain officers that try to persuade Indian people that they should just take a state ticket and not bring it up. That they can say, oh, well, they'll tell them, oh, well, if you go to the tribe, then this seatbelt ticket's going to be $150, but it's just going to be $20, which is not true. It's $20 at Cherokee Nation, just like it's $20 in the state. And our fines are not exactly the same, but they're really similar to what the state is. The state has a different breakdown of their fees, but the fines themselves are pretty similar. So I think that there is this sense that, you know, maybe, and I think there's maybe a coordinated attempt to persuade Indian people to say, well, I don't want to mess with it. It sounds like a hassle. I don't really know that much about tribal court. And if you're telling me it'll be more expensive, I just don't want to raise it. And practically, that means you've got the state, you know, asserting jurisdiction over Indians with their own consent, which, you know, is not, it's not what we want. We want people to have confidence in their own tribal systems. But that requires familiarity and time, and people have to see and understand that, you know, what the reality is. And all of you can help be advocates for the nation in that regard and say, you know, you shouldn't take a ticket from the state if you get arrested on the reservation, or if you get a ticket on the reservation, you should let them know that you're a tribal citizen, and so that our citizens don't get sort of bullied into believing that the state will treat them differently or better than the tribe will, because I don't ever believe that will be the case.
Okay, that's what I had several to ask me, so now I can tell them, you know, if you're tribal, then you need to go, you know, pay the tribal fine.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Danny?
Sarah, thank you very much for answering the question about the seatbelt I had in my district from last time. But when we pick a jury, since we only have one courtroom or one on the reservation, how do we pick jurors? Because I mean, to me, it seems like it's going to be quite a bit of a inconvenience if we have somebody coming from Bartlesville or from around Coffeyville that has to sit on a jury for a 10-day trial, since we don't have a courthouse on the northern end of the reservation. So has that been looked at yet?
Yes. First of all, lest any jurors be scared, we don't have a lot of 10-day trials in the Cherokee Nation. It's usually just a day, maybe two at the max. And we have had people drive from Bartlesville we actually had one juror drive from Bartlesville to Cherokee Nation here to be a juror, and she wasn't selected for the jury, and she just stayed all day and watched it anyway, because she just wanted to know what was going on. So it is pulled from registration, and the court is the entity that does that. It's not my office. We don't have any control over that, but they use the registration to pull citizens for the juries. We definitely have looked at creating a northern courthouse. You know, certainly initially there was thought that maybe this North Point building in North Tulsa could be a good courthouse. I know the chief has since, you know, decided to go a different direction. But it doesn't mean that the search for a location hasn't continued, and so I think there is continued interest in trying to find a northern location. So we will be able to have jury trials in 2 locations. But for now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to come or that you can't be called for jury. We do pay mileage, so individuals will be reimbursed for the expenses that they incur making that trip. And there is a small payment to jurors in the Cherokee Nation, just like there is in the state. And we're trying to improve. I've actually, you know, heard the court's discussion recently about their attempts to improve communication with jurors to make it as easy for them as possible to appear. We have not had any issues pulling juries to date. We haven't had any problems getting enough jurors to to have a jury trial. So we've been doing fine so far.
Anybody else? All right, Sarah, thank you for being on that, I guess that Zoom. I tried to get on that Zoom the other day, and it only took 300, and apparently I wasn't early enough, but they didn't send me a link, so good job defending our tribe and defending our sovereignty. You know, and I don't know, kind of in the same boat as Julia, you know, you get this Huerta decision, and you almost think some things could possibly be moot if they're just saying, hey, we're going to go by what the Supreme Court says. I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but it seems like that could be an argument used because it's saying, hey, we can do this. We don't even need to do this now. But so just keep doing you've done a good job. Just keep fighting, and hopefully some of those things won't make it up there to put that ball in their court, because that is just an opinion. I mean, that is just their opinion. And the feds, Congress tells us what to do, basically. So it's my understanding. So again, just thank you.
You're very welcome. It's only an inning. It's not the game. And that's just the way it goes in Indian country. Sometimes we get, the slam. We don't very often get the absolute grand slam that we got with McGirt. It's more of a process of you win some, you lose some. We try to be cautious and thoughtful, and I appreciate the support of the council and the work that we do. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, from FOIA and GRA, Gwen Terrapin. Hello, Gwen.
Good morning. I apologize for my absence at the meeting a couple of weeks ago. Nothing has changed on the FOIA request. We still have 9. 4 of those are outstanding. We have no GRA requests, and everything's been updated on the website, and all of you should have gotten a copy of my report.
Does anybody have any questions for Gwen? All right, Gwen. Oh, Danny?
I noticed one on here that I won't bring up, but it says, response requested, exempt disclosure. If it's something personal, do we not, like they want to know if you received a stipend or something of that sort from the $2,000, you don't release every record that people ask for?
No, sir. There are certain records that are exempt from disclosure.
And does that count for political candidates as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, Gwen, thank you for the report.
Thank you.
All right, for the Election Commission, Marcus Fears.
Good morning.
Morning, Marcus.
Thank you for working diligently and getting us our election law. We appreciate that. Working hard on getting ready for next year. You got my report there. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Marcus? Johnny?
Thank you, Chair. Hey, good morning, Marcus. I appreciate you coming in today. I'm noticing from your report in June, there's a pretty big uptick in registrations. We're up to 300 that came in June. Is that primarily because of the community gathering meetings? I mean,
Yes,
that's what you'd attribute it to?
Yes, we got a big drop from the Cherokee vote team, and that's from processing those. Yes.
Okay, not to add more to your plate, but in the future, much like we asked George Vallier a few weeks ago of a little bit of a breakdown, is there any way that we can get the increases by district? Meaning these new 300 registrants, which ones were from D10 and which ones are in D13, and to see how each of the districts are doing in the get out the vote effort.
Let me go back to the office and see what I can do if there's any reporting that does that, and then we can make sure to incorporate that on the next one.
Right.
I know right now when I run that report, it just spits me out a total of registrations. It's going to give me voter registrations or absentee requests, but I'll go back and we'll see if that's something we can do.
All right, I appreciate it. Sure.
Yes, sir. Doc?
Yeah, Marcus, on part of your page of your report, you talk about obviously cleaning up your list regarding deceased citizens. It also mentioned relinquished citizen listing. What's a relinquished citizen?
So whenever someone relinquishes their citizenship, as say, like, goes from Cherokee to another tribe.
So does that happen very often? I don't want to be Cherokee anymore?
It has happened in the past,
Okay.
and so that's just something that we have on there just in case. Yeah, so it has happened in the past. Then we've had them come back from being relinquished and come back to being a Cherokee citizen.
All right, thank you, Marcus.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. Danny?
Marcus, I want to thank you during the election for your very professional your office was and how you handle your business. My question relates to, we have, since I have been on the council, we have had revisions in the votings and the things. Why is there such a problem with what we send to you with it coming back and it not being what we voted on and where it goes? Is that a legitimate question without being too forward with it? I know we've still got an issue about the dates and about all these different things, and it just seems to me that maybe we should all get on the same page and meet to where that when we vote a legislation in, and the last one was if you'll allow me to use the word controversial, that we get in, and we still haven't got it to where it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be. And that is a concern of mine because, I mean, within the Constitution, it tells us that we are able to do these things to help put this thing out, and it just seems like it just keeps coming back and forth, and you know, I just wondered if there's some way that we can fix that in the future.
Sure. I mean, with the revisions that we just received, everything that passed, we did see some things that we passed on to Council Attorney John Young. Just had raised some questions, but I mean, we are, you know, we've gone through those and we are able to, you know, we've, you know, made sure that we can meet all the needs, I guess, of the law. There's something in there as far as our timeline in June with the Supreme Court ruling that's kind of the only hang up there. If we do get a ruling, like say maybe like a verbal ruling, like if there's a hearing, for instance, and we can get a verbal warning from the Supreme Court within the time frame that it says, then we'll be good to go to get ballots out for the runoff. That's really about the only time crunch that we have, but if we can, you know, maybe hopefully set that up prior to and let them know, say, hey, this could potentially happen, can we make sure to be available for that? Then we'll be able to make sure that everything happens and runs smoothly.
Thank you.
Candace, do you have anything? All right, EO?
Yes, on that time, when they opt out of being Cherokee, is it possible they could go over and vote in another tribe's election and opt back in and vote in our election within a certain time, or how long do they have to sit out?
I don't know if, I don't think I have the answer to that question. I think they have to, I think it's got to be a couple years, but that may be a registration question.
Because they could vote one year and then switch back
Yeah,
over and vote
I don't
another year?
believe that it's set up to do it that way. I think there has to be, I think there's a time frame that you have to allow.
Okay.
Yes.
Julia?
Yeah, and Shelley can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm recalling, I think it's 5 years. If you relinquish, you cannot reapply for 5 years, I believe, to be reinstated into citizenship, so.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Sharon Swepson from the Tax Commission.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I believe you have my report. I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. I do have one update. We have a new employee that started for Jay last Tuesday, so she's in training. So hopefully that'll work out well, and we'll go from there. Catoosa, I haven't gotten an update, so I'm assuming we're still waiting on the water issue, so.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Sharon? Sean?
Just a comment, I ain't said it in a while, but I'm sure you guys called Sharon. What a sweet voice on the end of the line, takes care of my constituents, answers questions every time. So it's been a while. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Well, I'm going to echo that. Every time I've called Sharon, she has answered that phone every single time, and usually on the second ring. So that's pretty good, but we do appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your report.
Uh-huh.
And thank you for Jay. I mean,
I'm trying.
yeah, I know you are. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, self-governance, Shauna Miles.
Good morning, council.
Good morning.
So to introduce myself to some of you, but to say hello to some of you, I'm Ashana Miles, the new Director of Self-Governance. You have my report in front of you. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Shauna? Is this your first meeting?
This is.
Somebody's got to ask her a question. All right, Candace. Go ahead, Candace.
Not so much a question as just saying welcome. It's great to see you before us today, and it's nice to meet you. I look forward to the job that you will be performing for the nation in this capacity, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? I just want to echo that. It's very nice meeting you, and I'm sure the whole council looks forward to hearing from you monthly. And
Yes.
We'll have some more questions next time.
Okay.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right, from Gaming Commission, Janice Purcell.
Good morning. I submitted my report.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Janice? Nope. Janice, looks like you did good.
Hey, thank you. Have a wonderful day,
All right.
everyone.
You too. Human Resources, Samantha Hendricks.
I was waiting for that introduction. I thought, am I next? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, well, good morning. Good to see everyone. We are continuing to work on some of the things that were brought up at the last commission meeting. I'll have more of a report on my next meeting, but most of my information, you have my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions related to the report.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Samantha? Danny?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, would you know, at each one of our Cherokee Nation facilities that employ folks, does each one of them have sick time, and is that different from their vacation time?
Sick and vacation are different, yes.
So does each facility have sick time? I guess what I'm asking is the facility that's on 69A in my district, at the Mid-American District area, I had a constituent ask me, they do not have sick time there. Do they have sick time everywhere, or was that, I mean, how, that's what I'm trying to ask. Is everything?
Right. Sure, it's the same for every employee. Now, it is based on years of service, but I'll be happy to get that information for you. But it should be all the same, regardless of location.
Okay.
So it's all the same. You know, they accrue sick and vacation both.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Legg.
Follow up with that too. What about for non-regular full-time employees, if you're not considered a regular full-time?
If you're not considered a regular full-time, if it's a temporary, that's a little different, so.
Okay.
But
That could be
it's.
possibly it.
That could be. I'll be happy to follow up. If you have a name, I'll be happy to follow up with that and get back with them.
But my only question was, if you were a previous employee of Cherokee Nation, and let's say you went and got another job, is there a timeline that you can reapply to become an employee back with the tribe?
There's not a timeline as far as when they can apply, but there is a time where they can pick up their service time. And I believe it's a year, but I'll need to double check on that.
Okay.
To be 100% sure.
All right.
Sean? Okay, Candace?
Good morning, Ms. Hendricks.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I have a couple of questions. One of them is, in our last rules meeting, it was brought up that there was a significant amount of time that was taking place between an employee's application versus their hiring, leading some employees to take other jobs. So my question to you is, what steps are human resources taking to kind of mitigate that hiring time?
Well, and I can tell you what we have been working on, and I do have some additional things that I'm working on that I'll need to bring back to the council on my next meeting. But they are contacted within 24 hours of application, so that is something that does happen. So that's already, it's via email. And then if they don't have an application that's complete, then my staff will reach out to them and try to complete their application for them. In other words, handhold them and help them walk through the process, because sometimes they may not be as computer savvy on some of our application process. So we will go through that process and help them with that on a one-on-one basis, and especially if they come in. Now, where I'm still trying to work through the process is once they apply, to Speaker's point at the last commission meeting was to how do you get back with them to let them know that they actually did get the job or did not get the job? And that's the piece that I'm working on as far as our processes. So, and I'll need to bring back that to you at the next council meeting to give you an answer on that piece. So.
Thank you. That was going to be my second question as well, was about that notification process. I have heard about some individuals who have seen the successful job candidate posting, on Facebook or LinkedIn, so thrilled I got this job, while they're still waiting to be notified. And it feels very, I think the best word might be inelegant to get the notification you did not get the job via another candidate's social media post. So improvement in that notification process would be very welcomed. So my next question is about employees who are still within that 90-day probationary period. So when an employee is in that 90-day probationary period, is it basically they can kind of be let go really or their association can be terminated for really any reason at that point?
Well, I mean, we do ask for a good, actually, our introductory period is 180 days currently. So regardless of the time that, we still, if there is a problem or issue or concern, we like to ask that it's not just that they are just let go. We do like to have a reason behind that to be, in order for somebody to exit, to terminate, so.
Okay, and so to clarify, that's 180 days, not 90 days?
That's correct.
Okay, so 6 months essentially. Yes. Okay, all right. And in that case where someone is let go during that probationary period, how is that employee kind of notified of those circumstances?
They normally are counseled. They normally have a conversation about their performance prior to even being let go. It's not just that's what I like to see. That's my preference.
Okay.
It's not just hey, you're going to be gone in 179 days, so on that day. So we like for that communication to happen between the employee and the supervisor so that it's not a surprise at that point.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and my understanding is that if an employee is released or is terminated during that introductory period / probationary period, I'm not sure on that terminology, but is that a unappealable process?
I believe it is because they're an introductory period, but let me double check on that. That's a little different here than where I came from, so I need to double check on that, so.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time this morning. I know I had a lot of questions for you, but I appreciate your grace and eloquence in answering those questions, and I appreciate the time, Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Darrell?
So before you came into your position here, I asked the question about hiring contingent upon passing a background check because our background checks were really clogging up the whole situation. The answer I got was, well, we have a lot of law enforcement and child positions, So, and I understand those, waiting on those. At the casino, they can do a job fair and the next day basically have somebody working. And the background check hadn't come through, and then by the time the background check happens, then they're, released or, whatever. So can we make the provision for maybe positions that are not law enforcement or child care contingent upon the background check and help speed up the hiring process?
We are moving that direction, yes.
Good deal, good deal.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Anybody else? It's a good suggestion, Councilman. All right.
Okay.
Ma'am, thank you for your report.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good day. All right, moving into old business. Number 1.
Speaker, I'd like to make a motion here to table this 22-048 until the next Rules Committee meeting.
And it's my understanding that it's not quite ready yet, so any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, shall be tabled. All right, under new business, number 1, Doc, would you take that, please? Oh, wait. Is Freddie here? Yes. All right. Come on in, Freddie. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing very well.
All right. Want to give us a few words of wisdom?
That's kind of hard to do here early morning in Cherokee County facing you guys. So the sun is up, it is hot, and cows are hungry. That's about all I can tell you today. As far as the home health company goes, I think I'm the most senior person at the agency now. I've been a board member now for a very, very long time. I've seen tremendous growth, seen good times, seen bad times, and I can report to you right now that the agency is probably at the best it has ever been. Our censuses on home health are very high. Revenues are good. Our hospice is actually performing better than it has in many, many years. So things are really, really doing well out there.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Joe?
I just want to say, with Freddie, a lot of us through home health, he actually answers the phone too. When a couple of years back, we had some instances with hospice and wasn't getting much answers through the health. And I just reached out to Freddie, and Freddie, it was in the evening on his own time, and he reached out and took care of it. And I've known Freddie a while. He does take this job pretty serious, and he will reach out and take care of business, and that's what I like about him. So he does a great job, so I'm glad to be one of those supporting Freddie. So, but I thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is anybody else? All right, Doc, go ahead and take this first one.
Okay, this is a resolution confirming the nomination of Freddie Farrell as a board member of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries.
All right.
Congratulations, sir.
All right, thank you. What else?
Yes, sir. All right, is Diana Stites here? Come on up, Diana.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Diana.
Okay. I graduated from Muldrow in 1973. I graduated from NSU in 1977 with a Bachelor of Science degree, received my master's in 1981. I became a teacher for 3 years, and then I got married, had children. Then I became a home health care administrator and started my home health care business at that time. And after that, during that time, I also served on the CNE Board of Directors when Joe Byrd was chief of the Cherokees. And then I retired in 2017. So I am thanking you for giving me this opportunity to be on the board of directors to see if we can be of assistance or can help with the home health care agency in any way.
All right. Any questions for Diana? Darrell?
Mine's not really a question, but it's very rarely do I get three people that I know for many, many years be nominated for certain boards. But I happen to be friends with her and her family for a long time, and she's been in the business forever, and she would be a great asset to this board, that's for sure.
Anybody else? All right, Rex, would you take that?
Yes. This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Diana Stites Elrod as a board member of the Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated. I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Welcome aboard, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right, number 3, Kathy Adair. Are you here? Yes, you are. Come on in.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us about yourself, Kathy.
I'm Kathy Adair, and I currently am the Director of Business and Industry and Adult Career Development at Indian Capital Technology Center. When I first graduated from NSU, I was a certified nurse aide instructor, and so I have some experience there. And I've also been a counselor at the school, and now I'm the director. And I'm so very pleased to be nominated and would be very honored to have this appointment.
Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? All right, Candace, would you take that, please?
This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Kathy Adair as a board member of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services, Inc. I put this forward in the form of a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, number 4, Cynthia Myers, are you? Yes, she is. Here she comes.
Hello.
Hello.
Cynthia Myers. I am an RN and a respiratory therapist with an MBA by background. I've been in healthcare for 28 years, serving in the acute care as well as post-acute care sector. I'm Director of Strategy for PAM Health out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm excited and honored to be a part of this board, and thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Cynthia? Yes, ma'am.
Like to
Yes,
be
sir.
added as a sponsor. Her, this ain't about her, but before the pandemic, we were going to honor her daughter. She was the 6A state champion, undefeated, Abby
Lassiter.
Abby Lassiter.
State champion girls
And we were going to honor her, then the
wrestler.
pandemic happened, and we weren't.
In what?
And we wasn't able to.
State champion in what?
Wrestling.
Girls wrestling.
Girls
Wow.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Awesome.
At Jinx, yeah. So anyway, want to throw that out there.
Yeah. She makes me proud. She's throwing for Pitt State right now.
Good deal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Councilman Kidwell, will you take that, please?
Mr. Chair. This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Cynthia Myers as a board member of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services, Inc. I put this forward in the form of a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Congratulations. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your daughter, too.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe, Robert Stove, are you online?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Robert.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with the committee, council members this morning. I apologize I couldn't be there in person. Robert Stover, I got my undergraduate degree at OU and graduate degree from OSU in healthcare administration. Spent the early part of my career in post-acute and home health services, and then have transitioned over time into hospital-based operations and health system leadership. would consider it a privilege and honor to have the opportunity to serve on this board.
All right, do we have any questions for Mr. Stover? All right, Joe Deere, you want to take that?
This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Robert Stover as a board member of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services, Inc. I put that in the form of motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
All right, number 6, Joshua Sam, would you take that, please? Oh, is
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I just want to say I am very honored to be nominated for this position. I will do my very, very best while I'm the trouble registrar, and that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions? Joe?
Hey, Derek, it's more of a comment. You popped up on my phone as a favorite, finally, on text. And I thought that was pretty interesting because, you know, we've had a lot. That's pretty crazy, but yeah. I just want to say, man, you do a great job. You always get back to me. You know, I know you're just overwhelmed, but what you do is good work. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So
Thank
I just
you.
want to say thank you, and I'm glad you're going to be the registrar. I'm glad to be a sponsor for you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
It's all my team. I have a very, very good team, and I just want to put all the praise on them.
Okay. Yep. Good job.
Victoria?
Yes, Derek, I thank you for what you have done in the last, I don't know how many months. You have gone over and above what most people could do. And I appreciate all the times that I have called you and you've helped me with instances of people getting frantic because they haven't heard anything.
Yes.
But you've always been very responsive, and I look forward to you serving as registrar.
Thank
you.
Melvina?
Derek, I have to tell these people from your former boss, she has high recommendation for you. So, when a former boss, recommends somebody, I listen.
Well, tell Miss Linda thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sean?
Just like to be added as a sponsor, please.
Candace?
Well, I commend the job that you have done as interim registrar. You have overseen a huge influx of Cherokee Nation citizen applications and a truly diverse staff that was pulled from many different departments to assist with the deluge of applications. And I think you and your staff have done a wonderful job that you should be commended for over these past few months. I wanted to, before the vote, share the information in good faith that I am a relative of Derek's. We are cousins, and he is not a member of my immediate family, nor is he a member of my household. So this does not preclude me from this vote, and I would ask for our attorneys, our council attorney's opinion to weigh in and help with this as well.
Your statement is correct, Councilor Dehe. Likewise, separate branches of government.
Okay. All right. So with the council attorney opinion that with Derek not being a member of my immediate family or of my household, and with this both as well being separate branches of government, it does not preclude me from this vote. I just wanted to make sure I shared that with my colleagues here today and share it as part of the record, just as an effort in good faith. And I look forward to supporting this nomination and the work that you're going to do. I know you serve from the bottom of your heart, and you are just dedicated to the job, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you for your words, Candace.
Thank you, Councilman. Keith?
Derek, everybody's singing your praises today, and and then tomorrow you have to go back to work, don't you? But you stepped in during the illness and then the eventual loss of Frankie Hargis, who was a dear friend of ours. And you handled that period of time with such grace. And you handled it with the highest dignity. And it was also a period of time when the tribe threw the biggest challenge in the world at you. And you handled the challenge of it very well. It was a time when the constituents were expecting way more than they'd have ever expected in a shorter period of time. And you deserve great credit for that, and your team deserves great credit for that. The challenge that you guys were thrown, and then the way that you handled it was phenomenal. I never once heard you speak out in frustration or anger, and Lord knows it had to be hard at times. Because all of us were expecting a lot from your team during that period of time. I am proud to be able to vote for you today, and I want to be added as a sponsor.
Well, thank you very much, Keith.
Johnny?
Thank you, Chair. Derek, thanks for coming in today, man. I just also want to congratulate you on this, on what I feel will probably be a successful vote here on your behalf. I know you worked really hard. I know that we throw a lot of things at you. It comes at you quite a bit. I get that, man. I appreciate you battling through that. My second point was I too would like to be added as a sponsor. My third is I would like to thank personally my colleague here, Councilwoman Dr. Teehee, for providing us with her due diligence and background for the vote. I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, Derek, I would also, lots been said, but, you know, I was in your office quite a while back when, well, COVID had came and people weren't allowed to come into the complex. That was a very difficult time, too, because everything was by mail. Mm-hmm. You had rooms and stacks of boxes that, you know, you were doing. That's a lot of pressure because, you know, I know people tend to need things right now. And that was a tough time. I know it was. But you handled it well. So I am also proud to be a sponsor, but gosh dang, what better way to get started under trial of a fire? And that's what you were. You were under, it was a trial of fire. Mm-hmm. So if you can handle that, you know, I have no doubt that you can handle the future. So proud to sponsor you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Doc?
I'd just like to be added as a sponsor, Shelley. Thank you.
Okay, who we have here? Councilman Callison, would you take that, please? And there's one other thing. This says a resolution confirming the appointment of Derek Van A. Cherokee Nation Registrar need to be as. Mine says A, so. Okay, well, it's just messed up on my book. All right, Danny.
It's a resolution confirming the appointment of Derek Van as Cherokee Nation Register. I put this in the form of a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Keep doing a good job.
Chair, I need to just say that all of the health board and Derek Van needs to go before council tonight.
Did you get that? Full council? Okay. All right, number 7. Sean, would you take that?
Resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation to incur indebtedness and authorizing the approval of certain loan documents and limited waiver of sovereignty immunity to the United States Farm Service Agency, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the Bank of Oklahoma in connection with the heirs property relending program, 7 CFR, Part 769, Subpart B. Put that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Hey, what are you doing walking around up there? Anna, thank you for coming. All right. All right, number 8. Melvina, would you take that?
The Park Act, I put that for a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. And number 9, Rex, would you take that one?
Yes, this is a resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation to incur indebtedness and authorizing the approval of a loan agreement and limited waiver of sovereignty immunity for the construction of a new hospital and declaring an emergency. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Johnny?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to be added as a sponsor, please.
Wes?
Yeah, I was just looking for the amortization schedule that was identified in the draft proposed in the loan agreement. Said it was going to be provided.
We will get that to you as soon as we have it. We do not currently have the full syndication of banks that are going to be necessary to secure this amount of funding. They have until, I think it's Wednesday, to sign on. So as soon as we have the, I can give you the estimated amortization schedule. I can send that over to you. But it depends on when the bids come in for, for the work and various things. We do have an estimated amortization schedule.
Okay, yeah, if you could email that over, it would be
You
great.
bet.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Melvina?
I'd like to be added as sponsor.
All right, if there are no more questions, we have
Speaker,
a,
could this go to council tonight, please?
yes, I'm going to get to that too.
Okay, all right.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, and all of these that we have done today need to go to council tonight. All right, is there any councilman have any announcements? All right, I believe if not, I believe our chief of staff has an announcement.
I have a quick general announcement. As most of you know, last week we launched our Clothing for Kids program, and we're excited about that. It's going to be the biggest program in history. But at the same time, I want to make a special announcement. Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. and Deputy Chief Brian Warner have been listening to our parents and our students, and they realize what a difficult time it is now economically for our citizens. So we would like to announce an expansion, a one-time expansion of this program to include 19 through 22-year-old college and career tech students. So those students will now be eligible to apply. There'll be a public announcement on that later today, and then they'll be able to make application for that. But we're excited about this to be able to help more of our Cherokee citizens. And that's all I wanted to announce, Speaker.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any comments on that? Danny?
Yes, sir. Chief Staff, is there, for example, they're trying to get their cards in the deal they had, how can they still apply if their parents are both Cherokee? I mean, there's some stipulations in there. Is that something we can discuss after council, or?
The application remains the same. They must have been a citizen by July the 7th. All the other terms of the application remain the same. So if they did not have their citizenship by July 7th, they would not be eligible to apply.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's 19 through 22-year-old college, career tech, and training schools. Okay. And they'll have to submit some documentation to prove that age group category will have to submit documentation to prove that.
That they are in those
that they are actually
institutions.
enrolled.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Chief Staff, thank you, sir. That's good news. That is awesome. All right, if there are no announcements from any councilman, the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, August 25th at 1 p.m. It's great seeing you again. It's going to be a long day, so good job today. Need one more. All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned.